Good morning, everybody. So nice to see everybody here. And I am so thrilled to be talking about a topic this morning that is near and dear to my heart and to National Geographic, the brand I work for, which is sustainability and the future of our planet, and in particular, in this case, how it intersects with commerce. And I'm thrilled to have two of the leading lights in this space with me, Derrick and Jesper. I thought we would begin I'm conscious that some in the crowd may not totally be familiar with your companies and what they do. So just to level set for the crowd, why don't we start there? Derrick, why don't we begin with you?
Sure. So my name is Derrick Emsley. I'm the CEO and co-founder of veritree. We're a technology business that helps verify, audit, and deploy technology to ensure reforestation projects all across the world are high quality, sustainable, and impactful. And we work with organizations and other businesses to help them embed those projects into their companies.
Derrick, talk a little bit before we turn to Jesper about Tentree as well. So obviously that's an important piece of the puzzle for you.
Yeah, so before founding veritree, about 12, 13 years ago, we started Tentree, which is a clothing company, outdoor lifestyle apparel business that plants 10 trees for every product sold. We'd funded over 100 million trees to be planted, and the challenge really was that it was incredibly hard to verify and audit that any of the work that we said was happening was actually happening.
Jesper, talk a little bit about DECIEM and what lives underneath that identity.
Yes. Thank you for having me as well. Yes, I'm Global Brand President for DECIEM. DECIEM is a company that was founded about 12 years ago almost, and it's an umbrella beauty company, and we represent a group of brands. Brandon Truex, the founder, had an idea of creating a company that had a range of brands, actually 10, with the philosophy of being able to do 10 things at once. And this DECIEM name is a spin-off of Latin. And funny enough, you might know us not as DECIEM, but you might know us as brand number 11 is The Ordinary, which is a skincare brand and one of the bigger ones today.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about what it actually means for both of you to get it right, the title of this panel. We'll talk a little bit in a minute about consumer skepticism and how that plays into some of this, but obviously in order to live up to doing it right, there's a lot of foundational work that lives underneath that. Jesper, could you talk a little bit about, for DECIEM and for your brands, what does it mean to get it right in practice? Like what's the foundation underneath that?
Well, we have the philosophy that we first of all want to make a voice in transparent beauty. We come with the backbone of be transparent in beauty as well. We have the philosophy of growth to power good. So we're not afraid today to be big, to grow, because that gives us the opportunity to do even better and doing more. We are fortunate that we have a strong community and a strong following amount of people that helps us stay true to who we are and still help us also to use our voice. They actually want us to have an opinion about much more than beauty. So they keep it on our toes. And being on our toes means that we have to follow the world, we have to link to what the community and the consumer group want us to do. And climate change is a very natural point of that. They're very into it and very interested. So for us, following that community brings us into the unique partnership with veritrees. DECIEM and veritrees have a lot of similarities, I think. So being true to who we are matters here. I would say one thing more before giving it on. When we are based on science and we are based on transparency, working with sustainability really means that we have to dialogue the transparency of our actions. Yeah. And that is where veritrees have helped us a lot.
Yeah, before we turn to Derrick, I wanted to ask you, in terms of the product itself, how much has to go into that to making sure that, that you're actually living up to those expectations of the consumer?
So we do the best we can.
Yeah.
We do the best we can. We make choices the best we can. We'll definitely not be perfect. I don't think anyone is. So an example, we tell what's inside the product. We don't add on more than what is absolutely needed. We make choices in packaging. make them simple, make them recyclable. We think through how we power the facilities.
Right.
We do the best we can.
Yeah, that makes sense. Derrick, so in practice, what does it mean for you? Both, I suppose, at Tentree and at veritree, obviously intertwined. What's the functional nature of getting it right for you?
Well, I think, Jesper said it right, which is the best you can. No business is perfect, and getting sustainability right is a spectrum.
Yeah.
I think for us, when we founded our clothing company over a decade ago, the idea of planting a tree or some sort of environmental give back was much more novel.
Yeah.
I think over the last decade, there's been a lot more adoption of this with companies. And I think we probably all heard a company say that a tree has been planted, and I'm sure a lot of us have been skeptical about the claim. And being that it was kind of in our name, we knew that we needed to do something about it. And so we built veritree because really, if we said a tree was planted, we needed to know if it was the right tree, right place, right time. Did it survive? What was the ecosystem benefits? What were the impacts on the community? And so for us, doing it right and keeping those receipts to use the kind of name of the talk is really about ensuring that you can stand behind that claim, you can show it happen, and you can show the outcomes of it.
Can you talk a little bit, obviously we're at Web Summit, talk a little bit about how technology fuels that effort? Because it's an important part of it, right?
Well, when we started planting trees, we were told that what we were asking for wasn't possible. You can't get photos of the trees, you can't get walking paths, you can't get geospatial information that allows you to actually audit this work that's happening and see the ecosystem benefits. I think what we're seeing is the technology is accelerating at the rate that not only are we able to do it, we're able to actually continue to bring down the cost associated with the additional diligence, which means that more funding is going directly into the important impact and the work, which is really for us the most important part is, we exist to be the connective tissue between an organization like DECIEM and the incredible work that they want to support on the ground. But at its core, they're asking us to say, make sure it's happening the right way, make sure it's transparent and auditable. And so for us to be able to continue to improve that day after day and deploy technology, whether it be wildlife or acoustic monitors to measure biodiversity change, whether it be socioeconomic impact that we're measuring and monitoring, we're able to do that and continue to scale that to a fidelity that we couldn't before at a cost that used to be unachievable.
Do you have any particular examples of impact that you're especially proud of or that come to mind when you think about how you've been able to get it right and know that you have?
Well, we're incredibly fortunate to work with the DECIEM team, and they've helped us support a agroforestry project. And our team was just at this agroforestry project. It's in Western Africa, and these are small leasehold farmers. They're making very little off of planting peanuts. And the project there is about converting them to planting fruit trees like mango, papaya, guava. And they're able to make as much as 5, 6, or even 7 times as much off the sale of the fruit as they could off the previous work that they were doing, not to mention the diversity of their meals and their nutrition and all the other benefits and the community benefits that come from it. And the measurability of that was historically, incredibly challenging to do. And so that's something that, with the support of the DECIEM team, we've been able to really change an incredible number of lives.
Yeah, so good. You alluded to this, Derrick, in terms of actually both of you, to the skepticism that might exist. I'm actually curious for the audience, like everyone's heard of companies that plant trees or donate shoes or eyeglasses or whatever. Like, I'm curious how many of you in the audience have been skeptical when you've heard those messages. Is that something that resonates with this group? Show of hands if any of you have questioned whether what you're being told is actually happening. Yeah, I think it's I wanted to talk to you both about that a little bit. Like I'm conscious we're in the marketing stage here as well, and we've talked before this panel about how do you there's obviously the authenticity of the work that you're doing, but then there's like, how do you tell that story in a way that is credible and believable? And I'm curious if both of you could talk a little bit more about that when you think about how you message what you're doing, how you tell stories around it. Like, how do you think about doing that, knowing that some consumers are primed to question whether it's true or not? Jesper, maybe
true or not.
that.
So, well, I think first of all, talking about the offset and carbon neutral or offsetting or being sustainable as a company is not something we can call DECIEM. And offset is table stakes today. I don't think anyone really want to hear about that anymore. Yeah. So going through what's interesting to the audience is then to find partners that you really can stand behind and verify that those actions are right. So the partners that we work with in DECIEM uses technology or science to back up their initiative on sustainability. Mm-hmm. So those initiatives are what our audience would typically look after. And it's very natural. That's also what we want to look after. Right. When you have being beauty and being transparent in everything you do, then these initiatives have to be transparent as well. And we can show it. And Derrick and veritree can help us showcase this. It could be other partners as well that is true to the brand and true to who we are and where we come from. But at the same time, always turn into the key audience. What is interesting for the audience as well? So it's a combination of those elements, I believe.
Yeah, I was interested in what you were saying earlier about the fact that your customers really hold you to account.
They do.
And so I was thinking about, does that mean that when you're engaging with them in platforms like social media, do you need to be thinking about how you're talking about this work so that they understand?
We do. We are very, very fortunate that we have a very strong DECIEM community in Toronto, in our office. Yeah. So we have, I think a big part of why you will join DECIEM is that DECIEM is using their voice. So that's the company I want to work for. So naturally, very naturally, everybody from either they're in the lab or they're in the facilities of manufacturing or they are in the brand organization, they will have a voice and a point of view. So a lot of the initiative we're doing and the ideas comes from actually ourselves and our community, or they come from our consumers on our social platform. Right. We have a lot of dedication into our tech part of the company, which is our TikTok in a way, right?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of DM communication with our audience. So through that communication, we really understand what the audience is interesting as well, and want DECIEM to use their voice and energy on.
Yeah, I think you've done a really interesting job, I think, of building obviously that direct communication, so it doesn't feel like the company is, throwing marketing messages at you, but actually engaging in a natural way, which I think
it's funny, but it's also quite demanding sometimes because people want you to use your voice in all different kind of direction, of course, by interest, right? But I think, the team is doing a great job.
Yeah. Derrick, obviously, like addressing the consumer skepticism is foundational to what veritree is all about. But I'm curious how you think about that, and how you just make sure that people understand the story without maybe overselling it or doing it in a way that feels inauthentic.
I think in general, and to add to what Jesper was saying around a lot of the kind of climate conversation that a lot of companies have is table stakes today. And we're on the marketing stage. We're all looking for an opportunity to differentiate ourselves within our market, and that comes from leaning into the things that are the values that are core to our business. And if some of these things that historically are table stakes, like the net zero or what you're doing there, customers don't want to hear about that as a marketing conversation, and so. And not to mention, there is, to your point, this skepticism around it. So I think for us, our focus is not only in partnering with organizations to deploy high quality, high integrity projects that deliver real impact, that's transparent and audible. It's also about capturing the stories of that impact in a way that an organization like DECIEM can actually engage their customers with, because really, if the objective behind sustainability or nature-based impact is altruism, then it's going to be a lot harder to scale. But if organizations can embed that storytelling in a way that really matters to their customers, their teams, that's when it really becomes something special.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm curious the extent to which you've seen. I mean, I've been talking to CEOs and CMOs for years about how much does the consumer really care about sustainability? Like, is it? And for years I would hear people say, well, we think people care about it, but it doesn't really move the needle in terms of the business. And so, we do some things, but we don't like to talk about it too much. And and I think I'm curious what the degree to which you see that shifting with consumers, and whether you see differences in that, either geographically or demographically. How do you see the consumer behavior maybe adjusting when it comes to this this topic?
Well, from our side, very interested. I mean, it's in their top priorities of buying our products today. The company's voice and what the company does and the initiatives is a major reason for buying the brands you're buying today as a young consumer. I think even as an older consumer as well, without being an expert in every demographic around the world, I do see maybe some difference into more scattered into Europe than it is maybe to America.
Sure.
But we are a Canadian brand, and one of our biggest markets in US, and sustainability is a huge priority for our audience. I do think that companies from time to time get scared. Scared for saying the wrong thing, or scared just to say something. So that brings many brands and companies in a situation where we better not say anything. And I think that's probably the worst thing. Saying nothing makes you, we have a saying in Denmark we call liver paste. It's kind of a gray thing that you put on an open sandwich on a rye bread and doesn't mean anything. So you become that, you become anonymous. You don't have a brand that doesn't have a voice. So the brand needs great product, it needs or services, and then it needs a voice as well to win in many, many industries today. Sustainability to be one of them, definitely.
Derrick, how about you?
I couldn't agree more. I think where you're seeing a lot of pullback is the companies that would do it as it's this month and it's something that I need to talk about, but it wasn't actually core to their values or their consumer value proposition. And so it wasn't authentic. I think what you're seeing though is that consumers still care. We see examples like DECIEM every day where organizations that are embedding sustainability or restoration into their business model, it is solving business challenges, whether that's brand, whether that's operational issues, supply chain. And so for us, it's really about how companies are bringing that to life and it being authentic to them.
Amazing. Well, I could talk about this all day, but that is all the time we have. So Jesper, Derrick, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.